Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Monday, May 13th, and do we have a busy week on tap? I'm going to jump through some of the email subscriptions that I follow and subscribe to give us an idea of what is going to happen and coming up this week. First of all, looking at points of return from Bloomberg and author John Authors, we've got a bunch of different inflation data coming this week over the next 3 days. The New York Federal Reserve is going to publish its monthly survey of consumers' inflation expectations today on Monday. The Labor Department's report on producer prices Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, consumer prices. So that will be an interesting spotlight on what's going on in inflation. And obviously, that's going to tie into the rate cuts that have been expected and kind of talked about a great deal this year, but have yet to happen. We just saw Sweden cut its rates, so it's possible that we're going to see other countries in the G7 follow shortly. We've also got a big week for earnings. Both earnings out of Chinese tech companies, but also out of North American retailers. So we've got Walmart and Home Depot, two of the big ones on the US retail front, reporting this week. And then we have Alibaba as well as Baidu and JD.com all reporting this week as well. And this is another email I subscribe to called Unusual Whales on unusualwhales.com. I find this to be interesting, giving you some insight into what's going on. This one, a weekly summary, outlines the date in which earnings are expected. And so this is Monday, where we can see a number of companies, but then Tuesday, the first one, Alibaba. And the interesting thing about this email is they give you the expected move of the stock. Up or down doesn't predict, but they're telling you the EPS mean estimate, so what analysts are generally shooting for, which is 0.92 in the case of Alibaba, and then the expected move to the upside or downside. So it will be very interesting to see whether we start to see these Chinese tech companies start to turn around. There's been huge buybacks, so EPS is likely to be on the positive side, but it's really about the future narrative and what their predictions are for the remainder of the year, as well as their revenue numbers and how they're growing. If we scroll down, you can see On Holdings. I love these running shoes. Swiss company, they're reporting on Tuesday as well. Then we get Home Depot with an expected move of almost 13%. So it'll be interesting to see how home reno, do-it-yourself kind of sales, consumer purchasing is reacting in that, we'll call it home space and home remodeling space, although you can buy a lot more at Home Depot. And how they are progressing as consumer sentiment in spending has started to kind of wane on the retail side. We can also go down and see at the bottom of that same day, Jack in the Box. So again, not a retailer, but of food, and we'll see what we're expecting there. Then we get into Wednesday, Cisco Systems, really an outdated name in the tech space, but still a very large company, just not really in the limelight as much these days. Canada Goose Holdings, large manufacturer in Canada, but now internationally, of typically winter garments. But we'll see what is trending in that space. And then we've got the next day on the 16th, JD.com, so huge retailer in China. We have Walmart reporting. It'd be interesting to see what they come out with. What we may see with Walmart is that as things tighten financially in households and we have less discretionary income, the consumers may start to move or redirect their spending to more cost-effective retailers, and Walmart would definitely fall within that bucket. So I do expect good results from Walmart. IYI, another Chinese company, Baidu, Chinese company, Applied Materials, so going back to semiconductors, Under Armour, we've got clothing, and then Take-Two Interactive, gaming, which hasn't done well with the release of results from EA last week, Deere & Company, so more of industrial manufacturing products, but also big retailer of those, expected to report same day. So we have a huge earnings week coming up, which means there is going to be lots of activity potentially and likely lots of volatility. We have all three indices this morning in the green. And if we turn our attention quickly to the Yahoo Finance app, let's have a look at what's going on in the stocks that we follow. So we are now about an hour to open, about 50 minutes to open. And we can see that Lulu is off slightly. Walmart is up slightly. Home Depot, again, up slightly. Nike up slightly, but down in the low 90s. It was at 95 just a few weeks ago, so it has bounced down. It could trend back up if we see the likes of Under Armour have positive results this week and some of the other retailers. And then you've got your healthcare, which is just kind of holding steady, but slowly climbing back. So a lot of these companies got hit around earnings, but they are slowly on an incremental and daily basis making their way back up. Transport, kind of hovering there. JB Hunt has made a bit of a comeback from the low 160s up to 170, and then CNR just hovering in that low to mid 174 range. Looks like with crude this morning up 61 cents, getting close to $79, that there's a fair bit of green on the screen for the oil refineries. And so it looks like there's going to be some positive activity there, highly dependent really on how crude continues to move. So if that has peaked right now at a 62-cent gain, then you may see a little bit of pullback here, and then potentially a reversal as we go into the rest of the day. If we get down to the tech stocks that we look at, you can see Apple's set to do pretty well with a little pop pre-market going into the open. CRM is up very slightly. PanW is making some good progress to get back up into the 300s. Scrolling down further, we've got Microsoft, which is hovering in that 110 to 120 range. A great stock, but probably not one that's talked about as much as some of the others these days for a lot of volatility and the likelihood of a pop and increase today. I'd be taking a look at ARM Holdings. ARM is up $5 on Friday. It's up almost $4 pre-market today. So always definitely moving with the other semiconductors. Looking at some of those other semiconductors, Lam Research is up $4.25 for the morning pre-market. And then as we get down, one of the ones being talked about highly today is BABA, which is up almost $3 with announcements for earnings on Tuesday, and NVDA. So NVDA had an okay day. I mean, it wasn't a bad day on Friday, up $11 and change, and it's set to be up almost $9 pre-market today. I think there's a lot of opportunity at NVIDIA today. The other one I really like is Google. Google is off $4.21 pre the open, and if you could get into NVIDIA in the 166 range and the rest of the NASDAQ goes higher today, I have a feeling that Google will come back. Google has an incredible story. There's a great interview with the Google CEO on Bloomberg, if you follow that app or take a look on their website, and they are just so well positioned in the AI race that I think they're seen right now as a bit of an underdog, but they are leading pole position right next to NVIDIA, in my opinion. And then we get down to the financials, and the financials are, for the most part, in the green. Some ones that are favorites of mine, JP Morgan Chase. I would stay away from M&T Bank in the 150s. I think this is going to come back down into the 130s at some point, and I would pick some up then. Morgan Stanley, I think this will get up to the 110s. It is a little on the richer side at 98, but it has been climbing steadily. Goldman's been climbing steadily, looking like it's going to get up to the 490s at some point in the next couple of months, the way that it's going. And then some of the dogs would be your Canadian banks. TD has just been a horrific story over the last couple of years. Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, CIBC, another horrific story, and Bank of Nova Scotia, not much better. So I'm staying away from those. I do like SoFi here at 694. If that pops up to 7, I even like it in the low 7s, and that's one that I believe will be a $9 stock by the end of this calendar year. So that's where we are today. Lots of activity. If you're liking these